Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter. In the ever-changing landscape of television, we're used to the idea that entire channels will come, go, or be rebranded into something new entirely. In 2023, this has yet again happened, with the Pick channel bidding us a fond farewell to make way for the newcomer, Sky Mix. Wonder which broadcasting family that belongs to. Launching in October of 2023, Sky Mix promised to host a great selection of programming for viewers to enjoy, just as Pick and indeed Sky 3 had done before it ever since the mid-noughties. But as with any new channel, they have to be represented by a brand new crop of idents, and as we like to do in this series, I thought we'd take a look at how Sky Mix has decided to introduce itself to the television world. So with that, let's begin with our first sequence of the day, Skyline.
Welcome to the new home of the shows you know and love, and a whole lot more. This is Sky Mix.
A very interesting concept presented here. The premise is delightfully simple. We're treated to a bird's eye view of the various vistas dotted below us, with a revolving screen or window, constantly turning to reveal new locations, all vastly different from one another. This visual mix, if you will, concludes with the first area that we see, a cityscape at night, before the Sky Mix logo itself disappears. Just to touch on the logo for a second, I know it's obviously been designed to be uniform with much of the Sky family, but is anyone else just a little tired of this block design? It's been used in some form or another for several years at this point, and I think it would be great if Sky as a whole could just completely come up with a new logo template for the 2020s and its litany of channels. Whether or not that will actually happen, we'll have to see in the coming years. But back to the ident, the visuals chosen are absolutely stunning. Seen in HD, all the landscapes pop out with both their colours and terrains. I like the variety of seeing an urban city mixed with a lush green forest type place, a snowy tundra, and a sandy desert. However, whilst the swivelling notion of the window is a nice idea, I almost wish these were longer than 15 seconds. It feels like we don't get a proper chance to enjoy the visuals we're being presented with, the only exception arguably being the city. Had it been 25 or even 20 seconds, and more time was allowed to linger on the different locations, the beauty and appeal of them could have truly been taken in by the viewer. Let's see if any slight improvements or hindrances are made to this concept in our next ident, Travel.
You're watching Sky Mix. Now there'll be some flashing images.
Now, see, this is where the execution lets it down for me. We can see that the central concept of a revolving window showing us a mix of different locations is going to be sticking around, which is absolutely fine. I mean, sometimes it's nice for a channel's idents all to carry a similar structure, providing the variety within is plentiful and worthwhile for a viewer to take an active interest in. With this sequence, I'd argue the variety is there just like with the first one. We see different forms of travel, a sea creature traversing the waves, a plane about to take off, a lorry driving through a housing estate, and so on. But like before, the speed at which the window revolves through these different scenes completely takes me out of it, because I don't feel there's long enough to truly appreciate what I'm actually seeing. You might say these images are mundane to some extent, no exciting bit of action happens within them, but any good TV ident doesn't necessarily need something action-packed. A bunch of beautiful locations can be enough depending on how they're presented. And sadly, here for me at least, that mark is not quite met. Let's touch on the music briefly, as the soundtrack can play just as important a role in putting across an ident to an audience. The sounds are the same across the two idents we've looked at so far, reacting to the swooping screen, but not really communicating, well, anything. There's not a sense of excitement, no intrigue of any kind, just a jumble of sounds that abruptly cut out once the Sky Mix logo has settled into place. I don't want to make jibes of low effort, but this is truly staggering, particularly for a rebranded channel trying to launch and establish itself. Let's see if our third and final ident today can bring things back to form. So join me as we go on a discovery.
This is Sky Mix, the new home of the shows you love and so much more. Welcome.
This is becoming disorientating. Once more, the concept remains the same. The locations are just swapped out. a car driving in the snow being followed by a helicopter, a rocket blasting off to the moon, etc. I like the different scenes that were shown, but despise the brevity at which we get to see them properly. Out of the three, this feels the worst of them all in terms of zipping through, and with the music still being the whooshing of sounds to match the spinning window, you can't help but feel a little disappointed. I don't like being overly negative. I mean, the different locations are beautiful once again, and in fact, you could dedicate an entire ident to just one of these different scenarios. The rocket to the moon has my interest in particular. Imagine a sequence been made to showcase its journey towards the moon. How different and cool that would be. Not something that you see all that much in 2020's TV. But sadly, whilst I like the initial concept at first, it has very quickly worn off. Overall, SkyMix had an intriguing and captivating idea, and as of the present, I don't feel they've really done all that much with it. I think the revolving window can work, but it needs to be slowed down and far less disorientating. Spend more time in those different locations, let the audiences appreciate what you're giving them. I hope that in its lifetime, that SkyMix deviates away from the central idea, or at least goes to greater lengths to expand it and make it more interesting. I know it's nowhere near the top of Sky's priority list in terms of its channel family, but smaller channels deserve just as much time, commitment and effort as the flagship ones. I mean, just look at some of the idents from Sky's main channels and tell me that they are less interesting than what's being seen on SkyMix. TV idents seem to increasingly be viewed as some kind of afterthought to many broadcasters, which is heartbreaking to see when you think of some of the iconic sequences that we've had over the decades. SkyMix is still in its early days, however, so I hold out hope that at some point down the line, we'll be graced with new idents that can really highlight both the channel's appeal and also give us sequences that are memorable, impactful, and ones that stick in the mind for years to come. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of the Ident Review. If you enjoyed it, please remember to like the video, subscribe to us here at AMTV, and let me know your thoughts on the idents we've looked at today in the comments down below. Until the next time, see you later. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Ben Freeman, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Bruce Danton, Globe of Reviews, Derek Chambers, Sean Knock, Dord Khan, Liam Domain, Trev Hughes, Carl KR, AJ Mac 200017, and Daniel Middleton, our AMTV staff members.